against the dead bodies of our fallen soldiers who were sacrificed or who were martyred. But on the contrary, Congress is here to accept each and every contribution which has been done by, or rather which has been seen by all the ex-servicemen, all the serving soldiers, and all the martyrs who have laid down their lives for the country. Now I hand over the proceedings to our Vice Chairman, Colonel Colasso. Thank you so much once again for being here. God bless you. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Veterans, Veernaris, the 1971 Bangladesh operations, the media, special invitees, we are here today to commemorate the function of 71 Bangladesh operations, commonly referred to as the Liberation War. A special welcome to Captain Praveen Dawar, who is associated with the Deccan Horse and who is veteran and part of the Bangladesh Liberation Center. He is the chief guest and also speaker for the day. Next welcome goes to Air Commodore Peter Pinto, who is also the guest of honor and also will be covering the air aspects of the Liberation War. We have Captain in the Navy, Vicky Bhardwaj, special invitee, and also will be covering and speaking on the naval aspects and the naval operations of the 71 Corps. On 16 December 21, we commemorated 50 years of the victory of the liberation of Bangladesh. It was a war of many battles, which finally led to the creation of a new and free Bangladesh. Gone was East Pakistan and gone was Bangladesh. Its end saw the largest public surrender of the Pakistan armed forces to India. While victory in war is a cause of national jubilation, it also is a source of personal sorrows and tragedies for families who have lost their husbands, their sons, their fathers. We grieve and salute all the martyrs. A peep into the past, this war was a fallout of the oppressive political and economic policies of Pakistan towards East Pakistan, which caused unimaginable human sufferings, leading to the exodus of nearly 10 million refugees into India. The war was forced on us by Pakistan when they attacked our air bases on the 3rd of December 1971. Pakistan was brought to their knees in a matter of 14 days by the excellently coordinated, planned and executed operations by the Indian Armed Forces. Collectively, the Indian Army, the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force forced the Pakistan Army to surrender unconditionally on 16 December 1971. The Eastern and Western Front bore the brunt of the operations. The battles of Atgram, Pangale in the east, and Basantar and Longewale in the west were well-fought battles world over. We proudly commemorate 50 years of the Bangladesh Liberation War and salute all martyrs who laid down their lives for a just cause. History was fully written by the Indian Armed Forces this day 50 years back. Today, amongst the August gathering, we also have Mr. Gundu Rao, the MLA and guest in charge of Goa. We have Brigadier Neves Briganza, Chairman of the Defence Colony Society. We have Brigadier Karan Thapa. And last but not the least, we have Lieutenant Commander John Eric Holmes, Indian Navy. With that, I end my part of the speech. May I request Colonel Mal to take on again. Thank you. Check.
As we all know that the election atmosphere has heated up to its epitome, and everyone is extremely busy. And I should extend my special thanks to the Honorable Shri Dinesh Kundurao ji, who's sitting MLA from Karnataka and also holding a very responsible position here as the desk in charge of Goa elections, as well as Goa itself. We'll jump the proceedings, taking into consideration that Shri Gundurao's schedule is very busy, but out of that very busy schedule, he has pulled out time for we ex-servicemen, and we are honored, sir. Thank you very much. And we would like you to come and say a few words in the honor of our fallen soldiers and the veterans who participated in the 71 operations, and the contribution of the Indian National Congress towards all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to Colonel Noel Rubin, who is the chairman of our ex-servicemen department of the Congress Party in Goa, for having organized this meeting, this discussion. I am equally honored to be over here. More than it being an honor for you to have me, I think it's an honor for me to be here amongst many great veterans who have served this country with great pride and dignity. Of course, we have Captain Tarun Dawar, who have known him for a very, very long time, since more than 20 years, I suppose. He's been working actively in the Congress Party and also always taking up the issues of the ex-servicemen within the party and outside the party. When he was in government, he was also playing a key role in advising the government and advising the party on issues concerning the ex-servicemen. And all the other dignitaries, distinguished dignitaries who have come for this meeting. We are remembering a great day. We are remembering the liberation of Bangladesh, and it was an historic occasion when that event took place. The war that happened at that time was not a war that was initiated by India, or it was not a war that India was in any way responsible for. It was a purely internal matter of Pakistan, which turned into an issue, situation where India had to intervene. And if we had not intervened, we would not have been doing our duty as a responsible neighbor and as a responsible nation. And I think at that point of time, though there were many, many forces around the world, many countries who were against this intervention by India, major powers were against this intervention of India in the war. But the Indian government, the then Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi, and of course, with the advice and guidance of all the chiefs of the defense forces, did what was morally right for India to do. And that was to save the people of Bangladesh, to save the innocents who were being brutally attacked by their own government, by their own armies. And that suppression had to be ended. And that is why I don't have to explain this thing to you, because all of you know that. Because you are the people who were there. Many of you were in that battle also. So it is not that something I have to really inform you about. But the one issue that I think I would like to highlight here is that when India and Pakistan were formed, India was formed as a free country, a democratic country with equal rights for all citizens, and a secular country. In Pakistan, though it professed at that time though Mr. Jinnah said that this is a secular country, but it was an Islamic country. It was Islam Rashtra, let us call it an Islam Rashtra. And today we talk about India becoming a Hindu Rashtra. So, when religion is mixed up with politics, what can be the consequences can be seen across India and across the world. And in Pakistan, though it became an Islamic country, an Islamic Rashtra, using Islam as the reason for it to become a country, it ended up breaking itself. Because when you unleash forces like this within the society, it ends up cracking the society itself. And when they could not tolerate another province being able to form for that person from that province becoming the Prime Minister of Pakistan, you could measure the level of intolerance that within a country they could not tolerate a person from Bangladesh getting elected and becoming the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Because these kind of divisive forces does not tolerate or does not condone things that they hold themselves dear to. So unless we rise above that, it's only then that the country can be united. I would actually go to the extent of saying that if India had ever thought of becoming a Hindu Rashtra, India would not have been one today, or it would not have been a united country today. It would have split itself into many, many different parts. The southern states, already there was so much of division. Northeastern states, so many states would have said that we want our own independence because we have our own language, our own culture. The reason why India stayed together was because of this philosophy that we adopted right through our freedom struggle, and after the freedom struggle, the struggle led by Mahatma Gandhi, subsequently led by greats like Nehru, Patel, all of them, to see that this country stands together with diversity. So when you respect diversity, that's when I think different values, different opinions, different beliefs can come and work together. If you say that this is the one way, this is the one path, this is the one track that we have to go, then it leads to divisions, it leads to cracks, and ultimately it fractures. So that's a lesson I think when we, at least politically speaking, when we think of Bangladesh being liberated, it was those forces which causes this divisions which ultimately leads to these cracks. And we've seen that happening in many countries around the world, whether it's in the USSR, whether it is in the Eastern European countries, whether it's even here now what happened in Pakistan. So we remember this day with great pride, and I won't take much time because I think Arunji will have to speak on this subject, but it's a great day for India, and we are Congress Party celebrating this 50th year throughout the year, organizing meetings everywhere. But today, unfortunately, Goa, we are in amidst an election, so everyone is busy campaigning, doing many things, so not many people are able to come over here. But I'm sure in the days to come, we should use this occasion and many other such occasions to foster the unity, spirit of belonging, of brotherhood, of the great things that people have sacrificed their lives for. That should never be forgotten, and that should be something that leads us always on the right path in the future. So thank you, Colonel, for organizing this event and calling me also. And I hope this ex-service department under your leadership in the future will endeavor to do more such work, and we will extend full support. Congress Party, we see in you a good dynamic leader, chairman of this department, and we hope that you will take up more such issues, not only remembering but also for the cause of the ex-servicemen. So you take up more issues, the Congress Party will give you more strength and support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shri Dinesh Sundarao ji, and we are truly thankful to you for having spared your very precious time for us, and we are humbly touched, and we can assure you that the ex-servicemen department will do everything possible to ensure that the party, the Congress party, is hailed and appreciated everywhere. Just to inform you, sir, that we have gone all around Goa and we have handed over our manifesto to all the ex-servicemen. And there were quite a few ex-servicemen who were supposed to come, but they got held up because of some restrictions on the route. We were expecting some 60 to 70 people here, but then again, due to the VIP movement. But we can assure you, sir, that we have another one which is going to happen. I have taken the approval from Captain Praveen Davar, and we are going to have the next one in South Goa, sir. And it is going to be a very big one, so I can assure you that, sir. And thank you for all the support and all the cooperation. You have been very positive, sir. And we always expect this positivity from all our leaders, sir, so that we can together get you to speak to us and listen to you. And your words were so encouraging, sir. Thank you so much once again, sir. And we would take a 5 to 10 minutes break because Shri Gundu Rao ji is about to leave and the media wants to take a bite. So I hope you will bear with us, please. So we want you to take a bite here in front of it. The media, you can interview Shri Gundu Rao ji, please. Thank you. Yeah, they will speak to you.
You will question? Who's question? No question. So then it's all covered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll meet again later. Okay, later. We are now. All very fast. Okay. Bye. Okay. See you then.
As there was a little disruption because Shri Gundu Rao ji had to go out, he's got other commitments. We will request now our chief guest and our guest speaker, Captain Praveen Davar, who's an Armored Corps officer from the Deccan Horse. He's a veteran who has participated in the 1971 operations, has been part of the Congress for the last 40 years, and despite his very busy schedule, he was in Uttarakhand and he just come back, and I requested him to be here as the guest speaker, and he consented and took a direct flight from Uttarakhand to Delhi and from Delhi to Goa, and he is here with us. Highly appreciate your presence, sir, and we request you to now come and address the gathering. Thank you very much, sir.
Colonel Goodwin, the chairman of Goa PCC ex-servicemen department, Air Commodore Peter Pinto ji,
Brigadier Karan Thakurji, Lieutenant Commander John Eric Gomas, Captain Vicky Agwaj from the Indian Navy, who is my postmate, Brigadier, sorry, I can't get the pronunciation, Braganza, Captain Pradeep Sehgal, Mrs. Shamila Siddiqui, Colonel Ban Singh, Colonel Balwinder Singh, Colonel Arjun Deva, Colonel Austin, Colonel Victor Rubello, and Commander Eric Gomes. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sorry I have missed out some of the names of the veterans, all the youth leaders at the back. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great privilege for me to be here. I have come to Goa a number of times on political assignments, and I remember very distinctly when Mrs. Sonia Gandhi took over as the Congress President in 1998. I think there was an election soon after that in 1999 or 2000, and I was given the charge of organizing that meeting. And one message I sent to Delhi was, to her office, that Mrs. Gandhi must speak, she must address this public meeting, which was held in Panjim only, that she must address the meeting in Hindi. But there were some other people who were senior to me, and they didn't agree with me, and they said, no, she must speak in English, because in Goa, people are, at home with English. But then I said, speaking to an audience like this and speaking in a public meeting, where there are a lot of, people from all sections of society, I don't think it is correct. But anyway, I was overruled, and she spoke in English, but not even once, there was an applause, because most of the people there, 60% or 70% of the people did not understand. But in a gathering like this, I think it is okay that if I speak in English, but if somebody wants me to speak in Hindi, I can speak in Hindi also. The choice, okay, yeah. All right. Now this, talking of the Bangladesh Liberation War, the Congress Party formed a committee on 28th December. 28th December is the day when the Congress was born, 28th December 1885. So on 28th December 2020, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi announced a committee of which the former Defence Minister, Mr. A.K. Antony, was the chairman, and I became the convener. Now because of COVID, we had to postpone our events. So we started only in July 2021. Meetings at the state and the district level. And till end of December last year, we managed to do about 125 meetings throughout the country. We covered most of the states, but 7-8 states, including Goa, was there. So we was going around in Uttarakhand and maybe even Punjab also, addressing press conferences. So I was scheduled to come here. Then we decided, and it was very nice of Colonel Goodwin to agree that we must have this meeting today itself. So that is how we are here. Now I have brought a booklet which I will be giving you later that covers the entire, in brief, the history of the Bangladesh Liberation War. But still, I think I must, relate some of the events, and we must all know that how this all started. You see, on 16th March 1970, 16 March 1971, Mrs. Indira Gandhi was returned to power for the third time. She was a Prime Minister in 1966 after the death of Lal Bahadur Shastri. Soon after there was an election in 1967. The Congress won with a narrow majority. Mrs. Gandhi again became the Prime Minister. And in March 71, now why I am emphasizing on this date? Because a lot of people think that Mrs. Indira Gandhi won with a massive majority only after the war. In fact, either people don't know or they just use it as propaganda that the Congress has also benefited. It is not so. The 1971 general elections were held 6 months, almost 6 months before December 1971. So she won by a massive majority of 352 seats. In March, and 16 March she took over as the Prime Minister. And within 9 days of her becoming the Prime Minister, this problem started in East Pakistan. The Pakistan Army entered the Dhaka University and they butchered all the people there. Now, why did they do that? Why did they do that? So we need to again go back. What happened was that for about 10 years, General Ayub Khan, Field Marshal Ayub Khan, was the President of Pakistan and the Chief Martial Law Administrator. He had taken over in a coup in 1958. And that period from 1958 till 1969, when he was forced to step down because the public resentment had built against the martial law, so he had no other option but to step down. The only thing I would like to say of that period, 1958 to 1969, if you take the 70 years, like our Prime Minister today, he thinks that in 70 years nothing has happened except only when he has taken over. But we must acknowledge what has happened not only in India, what happened in Pakistan in all these 70 years. And in these 70 years, if at all there was a golden period of Pakistan, if at all there was, to some extent, yes, a period where they enjoyed, relative peace despite 1965 war. So that period of Ayub Khan probably was the best period of Pakistan. And in 1960, Ayub Khan and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru signed the famous Indus Water Treaty, which still holds. Now, when you compare the Indus Water Treaty or 1965 Tashkent Agreement or the later Shimla Agreement, I think the Indus Water Treaty has been the best treaty, the most stable treaty between India and Pakistan, and it was become so popular that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru went to Karachi to sign the agreement. People across the border, both sides, they were so happy that Ayub Khan offered Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru that you please come and see on the streets that people want to, they want to look at you. Because he was, after Gandhi, the most popular, you must know that, after Gandhi, he was the most popular political leader, since the days of the freedom struggle. And when Pandit Nehru, accompanied by Ayub Khan, came out on the streets of Karachi, lakhs and lakhs of Pakistani people came out to see him. This was his popularity. Anyway, as I said, there was resentment that started building in 69. He was forced to step down and he handed over power to General Yahya Khan with the condition. He told him, look, I am stepping down because of public pressure. People want, restoration of democracy. So now I am stepping down, but you have to hold elections within 1 year and you have to announce it. So Yahya Khan took over from him and he announced elections. But soon after that, after an announcement, they were probably in the middle of 1970, there were floods in East Pakistan, 13 districts were affected. And to make matters worse, in November 1970, there was a massive cyclone in East Pakistan that killed lakhs of people. About, I think, 5 lakh people were, killed in that. They lost their lives. And roughly about 10 lakh to 15 lakh houses were destroyed. So the elections had to be postponed. Finally, the elections did take place in December 1970. And when the results came out, the results were in favor of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's Awami League Party. In East Pakistan, his party won by a massive majority. Out of 162 seats, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's party got 160 seats. And in West Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Pakistan People's Party, they just got, about 140, they just got 86 out of the 147 seats, which was the quota of West Pakistan. The number of seats here, because of the population, was much higher than West Pakistan. So overall, the majority was in favor of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So General Yahya Khan had no option but to announce as the next Prime Minister of Pakistan will be Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Now when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he read that in the newspaper the next day, he rushed to meet him in the presidential palace and he said, nothing doing, General. We are not going to be ruled over by, we are not going to be ruled by these, he used a very dirty phrase, the black Bengalis. We are not going to be ruled by them. This was the phrase he used. So Yahya Khan said, how is it possible? He won the majority. Why don't you do one thing? Why don't you go and meet him? See if some way can be out, something can be sorted out, some way can be found. So Bhutto went all the way to Dhaka and he offered to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman that let's have a coalition government. But the condition is that I will be the Prime Minister. Because since 1947, it is only somebody from West Pakistan who has been ruling, and we are not going to accept your leadership. So obviously Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was not in agreement with that, so the talks failed and he went back. Then Yahya Khan himself flew to Dhaka to meet Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Nothing worked out. Then both of them went, and finally it was 25th March 1971 when Bhutto left earlier, and then Yahya Khan left at about 9 o'clock in the morning from Dhaka. He flew back to Karachi. But before going, Yahya Khan gave orders to General Tikka Khan, who was already known as the butcher of Baluchistan. He had taken over as the martial law administrator. He gave him the orders that tonight you teach these Bengalis a lesson. And he flew back, and this is how this genocide started from the Dhaka University, and it started then, spreading all over East Pakistan. People started fleeing in thousands, then lakhs. By July 1971, there were almost 6 to 10 lakh people who had fled the country, and more people kept on fleeing the country. And by end of November 1971, there were 1 crore, 10 million, people who had fled East Pakistan. Now, in July itself, there were about 60 lakhs people who had fled, so that became a big problem. Now, Mrs. Gandhi, she viewed the situation very calmly. There was a lot of pressure from political leaders, from the public, that this is the time to sort Pakistan out. But she handled the whole situation with a lot of, her foresight, very calmly. And she didn't want to be pressurized. And she said, a wrong step now or a wrong statement can mess up the whole thing. Because if we had gone into, Pakistan, we had taken the initiative of launching the war, then India, I don't think that would have been in the interest of our country. So Mrs. Gandhi knew what she was doing, so she resisted all these attempts. Meanwhile, in July 1971, Henry Kissinger, the foreign minister of Richard Nixon, he came to India and he had talks with Mrs. Gandhi. He had talks with Sardar Swaran Singh, who was a foreign minister. And before leaving, he gave a warning that India must not on this issue attack Pakistan under any circumstances. He gave this warning and he left. He didn't leave for America from there. From the Pakistan soil, he went to China. So that was the beginning of the relationship which were to strengthen later between Pakistan, between China and America, and it was Pakistan which was playing the role of a broker between the two countries. So now when he gave this warning, then Mrs. Gandhi said, now if China may back Pakistan, America is definitely backing Pakistan, so we are going to be in trouble. So what she did was, she pulled out, in 1969, the Soviet Union had offered India an Indo-Soviet Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Now Mrs. Gandhi, in 1969, well, she didn't give much serious thought to this because we were a non-aligned country. We could not be with anybody, right? So she didn't take any action on this, but when, in 1971, when it became clear to her that Pakistan is going to be backed by both China and America, so she must do something. So she, told Sardar Swaran Singh. He got in touch with Andrei Gromyko, the foreign minister of then Soviet Russia, and the Indo-Soviet Treaty was finally signed on 9th August 1971. 9th August, as you know, is the Quit India Day. So on that day, we signed the Indo-Soviet Treaty. After signing, the treaty was signed, the tension that must have been in the minds of our political leadership and even in our military leadership, that eased to a great extent, and Mrs. Gandhi left for a tour of 6 nations. She visited first Soviet Russia in September. She visited Belgium, she visited Austria, she visited United Kingdom, and in November, by the time it came to November, she visited United States of America, and before coming to India, after United States of America, she visited Germany and France. And to the other important countries where Mrs. Gandhi time didn't allow her, those countries were visited by Sardar Swaran Singh. The aim was to build public opinion against Pakistan and for restoration of democracy in East Pakistan, that people there, they must respect the verdict of the people. So that was the objective. And also the objective was that India was not able to afford, these, by that time there were about 8 million people, that India was in no position to afford looking after, setting up camps, giving them food, looking after their health. So India, the advantage, political advantage, never came, because only there was lip sympathy, but nobody could do anything about it. But yes, many Western countries came to India's financial aid and a lot of money poured in, and that, decreased the financial burden of the Indian government. Now, when Mrs. Gandhi went to USA, she had having meeting with Richard Nixon in probably it was middle of November, and as the meeting was getting over, nothing came out of it. Richard Nixon repeated the same thing which his foreign minister had stated in July 1971. Now when Mrs. Gandhi heard Richard Nixon say that they are not, in diplomatic language, they are not attack Pakistan on this issue. Now Mrs. Gandhi did what I think no world leader has ever done or will ever do. It was very, very daring in national interest. And we are very proud of that achievement. The moment Richard Nixon, gave her a warning, Mrs. Gandhi immediately got her from her seat and walked out of the White House. Imagine, वो ये बोलते हैं ना, हमने घर में घुस के मारा। घर में घुस के क्या मारा भैया तुमने? आप जरा तुलना तो कर लो. Please compare this. Can you ever do this? We have seen how you behaved with Donald Trump, how you campaigned for him. अब की बार Trump सरकार is not done, right? And look at the courage and the daring of this woman, the most powerful man in the world, the United States American President of the United States of America, the most powerful man in the world. And he just walked out. Press reporters are waiting outside, she didn't bother, and she came into the airport, flew back to India. On December 3, now we are coming closer, I won't take very long, actually I'm going to give you a booklet as I said. On December 3, in the noon sometime, there was a huge public meeting in Calcutta. Mrs. Gandhi she addressed that meeting. The war cloud had already gathered. She addressed the meeting of over 4-5 lakh people in Kolkata. And as she reached the airport in the evening, she was told that at 5 o'clock, 40 minutes past 5, the Pakistan Air Force had attacked our air bases. And she was advised, including by General Arora, the Eastern Army commander, to wait. The Pakistan Air Force is up in the air near Delhi, please don't go there now. And Mrs. Gandhi said, she is very brave lady, she said, how can I be here when the war has already started? So she flew back, went straight to the South Block Ops room, where Field Marshal Manekshaw, Air Chief Marshal P.C. Lal, Admiral S.M. Nanda, R.N. Kaur, and T.N. Kaul and other bureaucrats, they were all waiting for her. They must have, decided on some strategy. In any case, India was planning to go into East Pakistan on 4th December in the morning. In any case, India was preparing for that. But India, it came as a blessing for India that it was General Yahya Khan who took the initiative and foolishly attacked India in the evening of 3rd December. Now, hats off to Air Chief Marshal P.C. Lal, right sir? He had taken so much care of protecting our own aircraft that none of the aircraft on the ground was hit in these 8 airfields, including Srinagar, Jodhpur, Ambala, Agra. No damage, occurred to the Indian aircraft. That was Air Chief Marshal P.C. Lal. He played a very big role in subsequently also. And I think, sir, if 1965, Air Marshal Arjun Singh was later made the Marshal of the Air Force. If he could be made the Marshal of the Air Force for 65 operation, I think, I may not be wrong, I am not from the Air Force, but I think Air Chief Marshal P.C. Lal also deserves to be the Marshal of the Air Force. We talk of giving Bharat Ratna to Field Marshal Manekshaw. There are people, they are even now foolishly talking of giving Bharat Ratna to our CDS, who we lost unfortunately. Very sad to lose him. But then, you have to, be just in your decision. It can't be just emotional. Right? So anyway, so this war started, and within a matter of 12 days, 16 December at 31 past 4, the Pakistan Army officially surrendered. Right? And when the surrender took place, so there was no, mobiles and all that, so the information to reach Delhi would have taken at least a couple of minutes. So Field Marshal Manekshaw rang up Mrs. Indira Gandhi. She was giving an interview on, on December 3 in the evening. She was giving interview to somebody on 16 December. And her landline rang. She picked up the phone at 1 Akbar Road, her official office in her residence, 1 Akbar Road. And she says, okay, now this is what is reported. Okay, General, thank you very much, thank you. She put the phone down, and this police team which was taking the interview, she said, gentlemen, I'll be just back. I'm just going out, I'll be back in a few minutes. She got it into her ambassador car. Ambassador car she was using as the Prime Minister of the country. And see what they are using today. See the difference, right? She got into her ambassador car, went straight to Parliament House. Now look at this, another difference. War is taking place and the Parliament is meeting. Does it happen today? Will it happen today? And like you are sitting, she announced that I am very, very happy to announce that the Pakistan Army under General Niazi had surrendered before Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora. Everybody got up. And they kept on applauding for at least 15 minutes. For 15 minutes they kept on applauding. Now just to recall that moment and just to pay our tribute to that moment, may I request everybody to stand up. Everybody to stand up and at least let's clap for 2 minutes to remember of India's greatest military victory in its 5,000-year road of history. There cannot be a greater moment for this country. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, the surrender having taken place, the war was still on in the western sector. Now Mrs. Gandhi, what she did, she unilaterally announced. She took the opinion of Field Marshal Manekshaw and the other chiefs and her bureaucrats. She took their opinion that what we should do. The general consensus was that we must not have a ceasefire, except perhaps Sardar Swaran Singh. He gave the right advice. Even the Defence Minister, Jeevan Ram, he was giving a contrary advice, right? So Mrs. Gandhi took advice of everybody, then she made her own decision, and Yahya Khan had already given a statement. The war is not going to stop. So that must have really provoked Mrs. Gandhi, provoked her to declare ceasefire, not to say that we will continue. Our objective was achieved. So that was the right movement. And one thing I want to tell you, you must all know that. When she asked Field Marshal Manekshaw that if we continue and we capture Lahore and Sialkot, what will be the cost? So Field Marshal Manekshaw, who had consulted his junior also and the other chiefs, he said, Madam, nothing less than 35,000 soldiers. Now if she wanted to, build her own image, she would have said, okay, go ahead. But no. She wanted to save lives. Human lives are very, very important. We are so proud of our greatest victory. But see what the families go through. Who lose their kith and kin. They go through hell for many, many years, of their lives. So she wanted to, save these lives. And when she declared a ceasefire, Yahya Khan had no option. He had no option but also to accept it. Now, so it was now 8 o'clock in the evening on 17 December, the war came to a close, and on 16 December, mind you, we have put, these 4 Paramvir Chakra winners here. So we must know their names. You know youngsters there at the back, have you heard the name of Captain Vikram Batra? You have heard? He was a PVC in Kargil. Even a film is being made on him, right? He was, I think, about 25 years old, 24 and a half, Vikram Batra. But Arun Khetrapal was only 21 years old. He was not even 21. And he lost his life on the last day, on 16 December, in the Battle of Basanta. In the Battle of Basanta, not only Arun Khetrapal got the PVC, but also Major Hushar Singh. After that is Air Marshal, Flying Officer Nirmalji Singh Seko. Next to him is Major Hushar Singh of the 17th Grenadiers. Arun Khetrapal belonged to the 3 Grenadiers, okay? Belonged to the Pune Horse, the most distinguished armored regiment, the most distinguished. I can say that, even though I belong to Deccan Horse, because they have got 2 Paramvir Chakras. They are the most distinguished armored regiment. And not only Khetrapal got the Paramvir Chakra in that battle. His squadron commander, what infantry calls the company commander, the armored corps, they are known as squadron commander. He got a Mahavir Chakra, Major A.S. Bal, and then the commanding officer, then Colonel Hanuj Singh, he got, also a Mahavir Chakra in the same battle. So the same battle, there were 2 Paramvir Chakras and 3 Mahavir Chakras in the Battle of Basanta. About Longewala also, that mention was made in the beginning. That was another great battle, in the Western Front. Also, besides, this Longewala, which was in the southern sector, in the desert plains of Rajasthan, in Barmer, Barmer and Jaisalmer area, in that sector. Besides that, in the western sector, there were, battles, great battles in Poonch, in Dera Baba Nanak in Punjab, also in Kargil. Now, Kargil, I must tell you, these heights which are there with us today, which were taken by Pakistan during the Kargil war and then won back by India, those same heights of Kargil, Batalik and Dras were won by India in 1971 war. Now people talk, my last point about the Shimla Agreement. Now people say that when you were winning, you had 93,000 soldiers who were captured, you gave everything back. Why? So the question is, what happened in 1965 in the Tashkent Agreement? Tashkent Agreement also, we gave everything back. You can't keep anybody's territory except Kashmir, because Kashmir is disputed. So the difference between 65 and 71 is, our officers are also forgotten. The difference between 65 and 71 agreements are, 72 Shimla Agreement is, that under the Shimla Agreement, we never gave them back what we had won in Jammu and Kashmir. That Mrs. Gandhi had put her foot down. And in the other sector, it was Pakistan territory, we had to give them back. And the soldiers had to go back. Are we going to recruit them in the Indian Army? But we took almost 1.5 years. 1.5 years to send them back. They became almost 1.5 times their original weight, and they were rendered, totally unfit to serve in the Pakistan Army. Only a handful of them, I think, were taken. That also maybe their paramilitary forces. The others are all declared unfit to serve for the army. So it was a great victory, and I think India was very magnanimous, in the victory. And so this criticism of the Shimla Agreement, I think, is not the right thing to do, because we should know what the real facts were. It's very easy to criticize an event, 50 years later or 70 years later, to blame everything on one Prime Minister. The China problem is also there because of that. Jammu Kashmir problem is there. Now, we are celebrating we have just finished the 60th year celebration of liberation of Goa. And here you have a Prime Minister asking in Parliament, in Rajya Sabha, he's saying why Goa was not annexed earlier. Now you must understand, something which happened 60 years ago, we don't know what the situation was then. So when, the patience ran out, only then Jawaharlal Nehru sent in the army despite so much opposition. There were opposition even from John F. Kennedy. He said India should not use force in Goa. But Jawaharlal Nehru said no, nothing doing, and he sent in the Indian army. And I think on 17th December, Goa, became part of the Indian Union. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me for such a long time. And in the end, right in the end, I pay my tributes along with Mrs. Indira Gandhi, very brilliant political leadership. Along with her, I pay my tributes to Jagjeevan Ram, the Defence Minister, who also did a commendable job. He never let the forces run short of ammunition or rations and all that. He kept things going. The Foreign Minister, Swaran Singh, he did a commendable job. The bureaucrats like T.N. Kaul, P.N. Huxer, R.N. Kao, who raised the Research and Analysis Wing. By the way, the Research and Analysis Wing, had a very major role in the taking the initiative of starting the Mukti Bahini. And we must pay also tributes to the Mukti Bahini. Because of Mukti Bahini, the task of especially the Indian Army and to some extent of the Indian Navy also became much easier. So we pay our tributes to the political leadership, to the military leadership, to the paramilitary forces, to the diplomats, and above all to all the martyrs, roughly about 2,994 martyrs. These are the official figures, but sometimes the official figures vary. And 10,000 those who were wounded, and all of everyone, including many of you here, who participated in the war. Thank you very much. Very much.
A big thank you to you, sir, for such an exhaustive and arousing rundown on the events of the Bangladesh Liberation War. Thank you so much for education and for educating us, sir. And I am really telling you, sir, that most of us here have got firmly educated on the certain events which we were not also aware of. And thank you for covering that so in such a comprehensive manner, sir. Really thankful to you, sir. And we will like to invite you once again for one more event of this kind, where I can assure you we'll be having a much larger gathering and we'll be off all this election paraphernalia which is all around Goa, and we'll have more people attending that. Thank you once again. Thank you very much, sir. Now, may I request Air Commodore Peter Pinto to kindly come up at the podium and cover the air aspects of the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. Air Commodore Peter Pinto has had an illustrious service with the Indian Air Force, and he is our guest of honor as well today. Let's give him a big hand, gentlemen.
you, Noel. Brigadier Braganza, Captain Diwar, Captain Vicky Bharadwaj of the Indian Navy, Brigadier Thakur, and I think if I go on, everybody's already announced everyone's name. So all of you all over here, Bharadwaj, John, and everybody. Now, you just heard a very detailed talk by Captain Diwar regarding the history of the war and what happened. Now, I'll start off with on 3rd December. One point I would like to point out is that as soon as the war is declared, the same day the Canberras went in to the western and eastern sector and started their bombing role. But as far as the air effort in the eastern sector, we had on 22nd of November, the Mukti Bahini was being battered by the East Pakistan Army, and we decided to send in a formation of Nats to take on the sabers which were attacking them. In that, we had, happened to be my close friend, Roy Andrew Massey. There was Sunil Swaras, Don Lazarus, and A. Ganapati. Three of them, that is Massey, Ganapati, and Lazaro, managed to shoot down the three sabers, and they managed to capture, the ground forces managed to capture one of their pilots and brought them back. Now this is all before all the main war started. Then on the 3rd, when this happened, Kalaikunda was bombarded, Alfred Cook was the hunter, managed to shoot down one of the attackers, and there were a lot of aircraft going in from Tillsport and Baktogra and Kalaikunda and attacking the army and their bases. Slowly, the Pakistan Air Force, the East Pakistan Air Force, was completely demoralized and shut down because most of their technicians were Bengalis. And the technicians had moved over to the Mukti Bahini or whatever, or just came to India as refugees, and the Air Force was just not able to operate. We had a big operation, heliborne operation, where the helicopters moved the army across the river Meghna so that they were able to come in and towards Dhaka. Then we airdropped a big two para-battalion and parts of 17th Field by a massive airdrop which was carried out on 11th of December. It started off with 2 packet pathfinders which went there, and with the help of the Mukti Bahini, they marked the BZ so that there was some place to drop these people. The main idea of dropping these paratroopers was to stop the 93rd Brigade of Pakistan Army coming back and augmenting the forces at Dhaka. In fact, they were retreating, but they were trying to come back to Dhaka. So we started this airdrop with AN-12s, 20 packets and 22 reporters. They were dropped from 4:30 onwards, and by 6 o'clock, the army was able to capture the Funli bridge, which stopped the advance of the brigade, and the army was able to move forward and get into Dhaka. Now, this in short, then we had a small flight which was named the Kilo flight. Now, this Kilo flight consisted of one otter, one reporter, and a few helicopters which were modified with rockets. And these aircraft were basically manned by Bangladeshi Air Force people and augmented with the other Air Force, the Indian Air Force. The late Air Commodore Karandikar was one of the main people from the Air Force who took a very major part in flying in bad weather, at night, transferring personnel, transporting ammunition and everything over there. And the task of making one of the first attacks on Dhaka Harbour, Chittagong Harbour and the other places was given to these otters and helicopters to they set the fuel dump completely on fire and demoralize the people over there. At the beginning of this talk, Noel had mentioned that the heroes and the unsung heroes. So I'll give you a little incident which happened and is unsung. Really, nobody did it. He was not given an award or anything like that way. But the last reporter, known by that time Flight Lieutenant Prasad Rao, he was the first, J. Rao. J. Rao was an instructor in Yelahanka because the reporters had come from all over the place, the packets had come from all over the place, AN-12s had come from Chandigarh, staged from the rally which was dispersed there, and they had come to Dandal. The packets had come from Agra, Allahabad, and they were also in Dandal. There was a talk over there by the Air Force as well as the Army, the para commander, the para was there, and the reporters were in Bika. So they all went in, the AN-12s first, the packets later AN-12s with heavy artillery and heavy vehicles, the packets with medium and small light artillery, and the reporters with the paratroopers. Now 22 reporters, first the AN-12s went in, then the packets, and lastly the paratroopers. Because we didn't want to drop. This is done because the heavy equipment has to come in first. If otherwise they'll fall on top of the paratroopers if they come later. So the paratroopers were last, and then this last aircraft, when the 17th person was jumping out, he in panic opened his parachute in the aircraft. Actually, the parachute is supposed to open with a cord which is attached to the aircraft, and that opens the parachute when the person jumps off. Now, he was carrying a machine gun, a heavy machine gun, So the paratroopers thought that, look here, this machine gun would be necessary for the attack, and they pushed him out of the aircraft, which was not correct. But the parachute got caught in the tail plane of the aircraft. Then aircraft started losing height, and they came down to nearly 300 feet above the ground. He started doing all the maneuvers which will disentangle the parachute, and after about 50 kilometers out, this paratrooper was released, at least got released from the tail and went back. Now this aircraft was badly damaged, but we couldn't assess the damage because there are no lights or anything at night. It was a dark night. The night was not able to see. You couldn't see the tail from any part of the aircraft. This pilot slowly coaxed the aircraft up and went to Beta, which was nearly 1 hour away from there. When he reached there, nobody was responding. No, they were given a call to the RT and told them that they are going there, but Beta didn't respond. So he fired his very pistol, and then the Beta ITC came up and said, we've got no goosenecks. We've got 6 goosenecks which are serviceable. We can't light up the runway. So what they did is, he said, you put 3 in the beginning of the runway and put 3 at the end of the runway, and whatever, there was 1 Jeep and 1 tonner. They put the lights on at the beginning of the thing. Pilot landed the aircraft safely. When they got out of the aircraft, he said, just let the vehicle see what is the damage. And the motor has a tail plane. The controls are completely covered by fabric. That was completely torn. It was only the frame. Nobody could imagine that the aircraft could fly in that condition. But this young flight lieutenant, that time, J. Rao, he managed to do this feat and brought the aircraft safely down. And in between, the PGIs, they were getting so worried, they wanted permission to jump out of the aircraft thinking it will crash. But he did not allow them to do that, and they all landed back. That was one incident which I would like to have on one of the highlights. That I finish my talk. Anybody got any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Air Commodore Peter Pinto, sir. It was a great pleasure having you here as a speaker, sir. And you gave such a lovely talk on the role of the Air Force. And very truly, sir, there were some heroes of our wars who have not been identified even today. Their role and the sacrifices were unseen and therefore unsung. They may have been seen but overlooked. But nevertheless, we are all here to pay a tribute to all those heroes who participated in the operations of the Bangladesh war. whether their contributions were recognized or not recognized, but at the end of the day, we all know that because of their sacrifices, we are here today celebrating this huge victory of the Bangladesh Liberation War. I will now request our next speaker, Captain Vicky Bhardwaj. Captain Vicky Bhardwaj was invited at a very short notice to come and cover the aspects of the Indian Navy during the 1971 Bangladesh War. It was very nice of him and I appreciate it wholeheartedly. Thank you very much, sir, for consenting to come and speak. I will request you now to come to the podium and speak to the audience. Thank you so much, sir.
Grateful to you, bro, Noel, and to Kiran, Brigadier Kiran Thakkar, who invited me. Actually, Noel invited Brigadier Thakkar, and I'm blessed to be between heroes and the people who have actually seen 1971 war and meet my postmate and my Congress friend. Last I met him was in 2010. And I will not be respecting my senior if I speak. I'll give a little background of mine, and then I got Lieutenant Commander Gomes, who has actually taken part. I belong to a village, Bandari Ram, Victoria Cross. I belong to a family of forefathers and World War II warriors. I was lucky and a senior humiliation in 1962 when we were in Freeport. My dad was constructing Rajasthan Canal. 1965, we were in Pathankot. We have lived during those times. मोर्चा बोलते थे हम उस समय अंग्रेजी में, तो पता ही नहीं था कि ये क्या बोलते हैं इसको, मोर्चों में. I have thrown stones on guerrillas. I have carried letters for my army brothers and sisters from station. I have carried lunch for those anti-aircraft guns. And then 71, I was lucky that I was getting trained. And the first technical officer from Himachal and my village to join Navy. And I'm blessed to be with you all guys here. I owe it to the Navy. I am highly trained. I was a top gun in the Navy. I was a top gun in the MNC IT circuit. I used to run 5 IT companies. At one time, I had a dream to become Raksha Mantri. I have grown up with Sanjay and Rajiv Gandhi, but my dream was killed in his office. I'm happy to share with you when Rahul Gandhi told me, sir, you know, a lot of people talk about Rahul Gandhi's popcorn thing. But when I told him, son, you got to. I put my hand around his and I said, beta, kuch IT ke baare mein seekh lo. Because that time, Congress was nowhere on the social media. He told me, sir, kya aap, that time, Himachal was ruled by Raja Veerbhadra Singh. He told me, क्या आप 5 बार उनके पैर टच कर सकते हो? मैं कहा, no way बच्चे. First thing you are shocked, I called him Putar. So, thank you very much. I will not take your time. Typical. And just last thing, I had decided to settle in New Zealand. I was so fed up this country. But I am happy to say I have decided to stay in Goa. My younger daughter, who had a green card in US, she came back on 24th May 2020 and decided to hire a flat here. So please, with due respect, be my guest at a typical Navy design, Navy style and Goa style. Be my guest and have a glass of beer with me, of course, with Thomas' permission. Thank you very much. I request Lieutenant Gomes, who is my senior, he will talk more about the war. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking me to speak. Captain Barwal was given short notice, and I have been told just now that I have to say a few words. In Goa, politicians normally say, don't return observator. That means I say just 2 words. So I made this short. I suppose I have been called here since I was staff of operations during the Bangladesh war in Goa. And the naval officer in charge was Commodore Sinjan Pasi. Now, Goa was very far from Bangladesh, but during the war, the whole nation takes part. There was an emergency. And so here we were worried about Pakistan perhaps sending underwater submarines and putting some problems in the west coast. So we also had to be on our toes. And I was staff of operations, so it was quite a busy time getting things organized, getting the fishermen to the captain of ports. And only this small incident sticks in my mind because there was a meeting in Mamagaon Harbour with the captain of ports, and I couldn't be there in time because I was busy with the boats. And when I came up there, we had I didn't even know this gentleman. He was a very powerful union leader in Goa. And when I came, I apologized to the chair for being late. And he kept on heckling me right throughout. And he said, the naval officer there, to tell us when we are going to lift this emergency and that sort of. So I was really young and foolish that time. So I told him, why don't you ask Yaya Khan? Now, this created a big furrow. The kind of papers were pulled up by the naval officer in charge. I just got this in mind because this is what had happened. And I was also there in a Goa operation. And why I'm bringing this up is the officers of the armed forces have always been, even during the war, behaving correctly. And we had that time also, like Commodore Sinjan Pasi, the in charge of our squadron which attacked Albuquerque, was Captain Lucy Gandhi, also a Pasi. And when the captain of the Albuquerque was injured, he made sure that he went to the hospital and the captain was treated with due respect. So this aspect of our armed forces, I think we should always be proud of the way we behave in peace and war. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Eric Gomes, for your very short notice address to all of us. And that's kind courtesy, Captain Vijay Bhardwaj. And thank you for, bringing him up there, sir, because we were very doubtful that Commander Eric Gomes would be here. But then I appreciate and I feel that you all have a lot of faith in me, especially all the senior officers, and thank you for coming and honoring us here. And every word which came out of your mouth was an inspiration. Let me tell you that, sir. It is stamped as an inspiration within our hearts. And we can only say one thing as youngsters. We are youngsters as compared to all of you, that when we see our contribution, I feel that there is a lot left incomplete. The contribution from your veterans, from you veterans, has been humongous. Absolutely humongous. And giving us the first-hand information on the rundown of the operations of the Bangladesh war has been tremendously applaudable, and we all convey our heartfelt thanks to all of you, sir. We are very grateful for being here. Thank you so much, Sir Praveen Dawar, sir, for coming here, and we are really inspired by you, sir. Let me tell you that. The type of patience, the type of enthusiasm which you have at this age of 71, I wish all we youngsters had that, sir. The contribution of yours towards the Indian National Congress has been tremendous, sir, and much appreciated, and it has been appreciated by all across the board in the Congress party, sir. Thank you so much. We will now felicitate some of our veterans who were part of the operations. During the speeches, we forgot that we have another veteran here, Colonel Thompson, who is from the 3 Grenadiers. Can we have you rise on your seat, sir? And remove your mask, sir. He is also a veteran. And please recognize and give him a big hand. I would like him to come and say a few words before we peel off from here, sir, for lunch. Before we head for lunch, we will be having a small commemoration ceremony in which we will commemorate all the veterans who are here for us. We have a hand being raised.
I'm also a veteran from Alice Mitra.
Oh, lovely, sir. Please come ahead. Please come ahead, sir. Sir, please come ahead. We will also request you to say a few words. Please come ahead, sir. May I know your name, sir?
Commander Arya Huda.
Commander Udda. Oh, wonderful, sir. Wonderful. It's lovely having you. Please take the front seat, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I'll request Colonel Thompson to say a few words. And let me tell you, he is another, what we call as Joshile in the army. He is another person full of Josh. And whenever we meet in the church, the moment I see him, I run towards him. That is the type of affiliation and attraction I have towards him. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
PDC battalion, no?
Yes, yes.
Just to each and every one of you veterans of the 1971 operations. It's an honor, it's a privilege, a unique blessing to meet each one of you. I have tears in my eyes, and I know what it means to be in your presence. It's a great honor, a unique privilege to be here amongst you, sir. And we thank you for your service. We humble ourselves, though we have also been in the army, and maybe there have been a couple of other officers here who have been veterans of the 71 war. God bless you, and may you all live a long, happy, healthy life and continue to remain our our mentors, our inspiration, and the revelation of what exactly we need to be as the younger generation. It was a unique honor and a very proud privilege to belong to one of the oldest Indian Army units, the infantry unit called 3rd Battalion, the Grenadiers Regiment. I have the fortunate blessing and grace of God and all you great veterans to have my son also commissioned into the same unit. At the moment, he's almost in the same banks where the war was, 71 war was fought, and we're actually doing the same thing, facing the brunt of the enemy bullets just a week back from Pakistan. Just a year back, he was grappling with the Chinese soldiers in the Ladakh region, and it's all your blessings that give us the strength to go through this. I would like to point out to you that I had the privilege of serving with this great leader. Unfortunately, he is no more. His wife, he survived by his wife, whom we all adore and respect. I belong to that unit. I was born and brought up in the military in that unit. All right. And I had the great fortune of having inspected his unit, which is Pune Hawks. And I have very great friends there. So, the thing that I'd like to tell you is that what a privilege it is and how we hold you in the highest of esteem. And having served with him for 3 years, I know exactly what you have been through. I've been at his footsteps, taking care of him. Both of us have jointly faced the Pakistanis and their bullets. Me, a decade later than him, all right. But simultaneously, we served on the same Pakistani border with Cambodia. He was my CO, I was his adjutant. So, and all through the days, there were all a lot of reminiscence of like what each one of you have been through during your careers and in the army. Now, I would just like, in the esteem with which we hold our seniors and the veterans, I would just like to portray to you. When I was commissioned, I had to join the unit. The unit was in one of its annual exercises. So, as a youngster who was brought up in that in the ways of this thing, the first thing is that your life has no value. You know, you should be ready to lay down your life in the very best ways of the army, with all of your virtue, with all of your righteousness, and with all of your valor. So the first step I had to do was, there was somebody who was, they play a joke at times when he joined the unit. It was also done with my son very recently when he joined 3 years back as a youngster. I was a youngster then in 1979 when I joined the unit. I was told that you will go and meet PVC, Paramveer Chakra, and you will pay your honors and tribute to him. But I did not know that there was a different person sitting there. And the image that was put before, that I saw before me, was a great godly soul sitting there with a huge mustache, heroic mustache, and we were led there, and we had to touch his feet and virtually worship him. So that is the thing with which the respect and the honor and the privilege with which we uphold you at all times, and we continue to do so always. And we seek your blessings, each one of you who have been veterans of the war and even otherwise veterans who have gone before us, who have laid such fantastic, fabulous, heroic foundations for us to follow. And the same inspiration we would like to pass on to a youngster who will protect this land with all the very vigor, vitality, and the very life of their last breath. And to all of you and all of us Indians, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. counts in Goa in setting good morals before this people of Goa. Thank you.
I'm sure I wasn't wrong when I was mentioning about Colonel Thompson, that he still got the Josh of a youngster, and you would have seen it. And yes, he is young, and he still has that Josh. He can be part of any operations and take up any role. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences and introducing yourself to the esteemed guests. How can we leave Brigadier Karan Thakkar, who is responsible for bringing Captain Vicky Bhardwaj, but then before we call on Brigadier Karan Thakkar, we will request Commander Hooda, who is already here, to come and share your views and your experiences, sir. Thank you very much for accepting this offer to come and speak, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I want to start by a small introduction that I was one of the privileged ones, 3 officers from the Navy, 3 from the Air Force, and about 11 from Army were invited by Bangladesh government. So I represented them, and it was one of the biggest honors we have ever received. Kind of reception we received at every place in for a 5-day stay was something spectacular. And to quote more, the amount of souvenirs we got, each one had about 25 to 35 kilos extra weight, and the aircraft could not take all, so they came by some special aircraft. I joined the Navy, and soon after that, after cadet stint, I was there on Vikrant as a midshipman. We were all, Vikrant transferred itself from Mumbai to Vizag, and something was well known that PNS Ghazi was after us. Their commanding officer has taken an oath that he will not come back to Pakistan till he sinks Ghazi. So our war started a couple of months before the actual war, where we never stayed in any of the ports for more than 2 to 3 days because of this problem. And I do remember when refit was to be done in Chennai, suddenly a decision was taken, you can't stay for 10 days, so we went to Andamans, and all the dockyard crew was flown there. So kind of precautions we took, we were simulating signals from Vizag that we are there, so Ghazi thought that we are still in Vizag and waited outside, and on first day of the war, Ghazi was destroyed, exploded. So we had a very interesting stint for about 11 to 14 days. CNC was on board our ship, and we had carried out day and night operation. On the first day, Air Force took part. After that, Air Force left all the targets to us, and every day we were launching something like 30 to 40 sorties in the day, and similarly on the night. It was the greatest experience. We were midshipmen, so we were given in charge of guns. So each gun was manned by 2 to 3 midshipmen. We were about 25 of us. So it was a very, very adventurous and I would say a memorable experience. We were the first one to come to know that the surrender is taking place because CNC had to go there. So we came back to Paradip Harbor, and I can tell you when we broke the news, the kind of reception we got, I can't forget. Every day we were going, moving around, all 3 transports, wherever we had gone. I think it was a very memorable experience for me as a small cadet and a midshipman. And I am proud of the country and I am proud of the
This is what happens when you are part of the operations and when you taste victory. The emotions run high, and I can understand your rapture, sir, while encountering the situation after the ceasefire, and we salute you, sir, for that. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for being here. And we once again say that yes, there was a very important role played collectively by all our defense forces. That's the thing. That was a unified battle, and we destroyed the enemy. Let us say that. And the contribution, here's the contribution of all the veterans, which was all hidden. And today, everyone sitting here has got to know the actual role which these veterans have played in bringing our country to what is it today. Our country in 1965 was very young. In 1975, it was still young. So, like Captain Praveen Dawar very rightly said, to lead a young country which was still getting its beams together after the independence, we had a dynamic leader like Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who could face any adversary irrespective to the size and stature. And she was one lady who ensured that India is top on the map of the world. It was after her regime and this victory that the perception towards India changed in the political international community as well as in the international community of the world when it comes to military operations. It was such a great victory. We will close with a very short speech by the Brigadier Karan Thakkar, who's here. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting my invite, and we offer the podium to you for addressing the.
Thank you, Colonel Noel, and respected elders, respected veterans, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity. I feel today very proud because I have been given this opportunity, and I would like to relate myself to something having talked about here. I am from Grenadiers Regiment. I commanded 17 Grenadiers with motorized, and I feel proud to be part of the regiment which Colonel Thompson served with pride. I am proud to be in the Grenadiers Regiment which Colonel Hushiyar Singh, the Paramveer Chakra, served with pride. And it is the regiment with 3 Paramveer Chakras, highest decorated regiment of the Indian Army. 65, C2MH Abdul Hamid from 4 Grenadiers, 71, Colonel, then Major, retired Colonel Hushiyar Singh from 3 Grenadiers, and Grenadier Yoginder Yadav in 99, who is from 18 Grenadiers. That's what it is. I have settled here in Goa, in a place called Puncheli, which is between Mapsa and Surat. I just take 2 minutes to quote an incident from the books and pages of Sam Manekshaw. When the war was over, 71 was over, Sam had visited a PW camp, which had housed a couple of thousand Pakistani prisoners of war. He goes there, and there is a Subedar Major who received him. So he asked him, the general, then General Manekshaw, general of the victorious army, who had the credit to liberate a nation. He says, Saab, Gustaki maaf ho. I'm sure you would have heard his interview. He said this, क्या मैं आपका camp निरीक्षण कर सकता हूँ, visit कर सकता हूँ? In all humility, he's asking, taking permission. The Pakistani Subedar Major says, Saab, avashya aaye, most welcome, and please come and visit. So while visit, he is asking and talking with the Subedar Major and all the Pakistani Jawans that, he came across. सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है यहाँ, आप लोग खुश हैं? ओढ़ने को कंबल मिला? मिला। रात को मच्छरदानी सोने के लिए मिलता है? मिलता है। लैट्रिन बाथरूम में कोई शिकायत तो नहीं है? सब साफ सफाई है? हाँ साहब, कोई शिकायत नहीं। क्या मैं आपका लंगर विजिट कर सकता हूँ? आपका खाना टेस्ट कर सकता हूँ? They were all dazed, the Pakistani soldiers were totally surprised. This is General of the Indian Army, the victorious army, coming and paying us a visit and asking all these things about our welfare. So I खाना खाया, बहुत अच्छा लगा आप लोगों के बीच में, और कोई शिकायत और कोई तकलीफ नहीं, सब कोई तकलीफ. So while he was leaving, the Subedar Major just said, "Sir, Pakistani Subedar Major, गुस्ताखी माफ हो, मैं आपसे एक बात कह सकता हूँ?" हाँ हाँ बोलिए. सर आप यहाँ पर आए, इतने बड़े अधिकारी आप यहाँ पर आए, आपने हमारे हालचाल पूछा, आपने हमारे वेलफेयर के बारे में पूछा. अब हमें समझ में आया कि हिंदुस्तानी आर्मी क्यों जीता ये जंग. Point is the officer-men relationship, right? And at this note, I will not be dabble in between you and your lunch or the other part of the ceremony. Lastly, pleasure meeting you all. It was great to hear the honorable speakers. I pay my tribute and homage to all the martyrs of 71. I pay my respect to all the veterans of 71 who are present here. And I also pay my respect to all my colleagues who retired. Thank you once again for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have Colonel Arjun Deva here as well. He is also a veteran and he wishes to say something to all of us. Sir, most welcome.
I wanted to say one event which Brigadier Thakkar has mentioned. That is touching me always. We reached Minority Cantonment. Minority Cantonment is a very big cantonment after Comilla. There, prisoners of war were roaming around. I am not narrating that how the communication was provided. I was thoroughly involved from July till end. Prisoner of war was running around and we had given them, working party or something, and they were with the weapons. Brigadier Colonel Joginder Singh, he was given off in the photo, and he mentioned, one night was there, बेटा इधर आओ, ये बताओ, इतने फौज वाले थे, तुमने यह सरेंडर क्यों किया? And to your surprise, there was one public school where near about 900 girls were removed by us. Most of them were kidnapped. These fellows are done. You know that Nayak, what he said? He said, साहब, ये हमारे अफसोस की वजह से है. हमने आप लोगों के सबके अफसोस को देखा है, देखो, like Sam Manik Shah has asked that. So that fellow says, sir, Indian officer और हमारा जवान और हमारे जो इंडियन आर्मी के जवान हैं, ये मिलकर पूरे वर्ल्ड को जीत सकते हैं. और उनको इतना आराम मिला हुआ है, हमारे ऑफिसर्स को इतना आराम मिला हुआ है कि ये कुछ नहीं कर सकते. इनको आयशी चाहिए बस. So this is the event which I wanted once you mentioned because I was reminded of. I have traveled the maximum during the operation, taking any place because radio only communication. If you read the book, it is in the Amazon. Then sparrow flies out. So everything is given in that. my name is mentioned, Brigadier M.R. Narayanan as well. So that was the goal of the 4 corps operating signal movement and the 4 corps signals. So that's what I want to mention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Colonel Arjun Neva, sir. Thanks a lot. I have given 2 minutes to another hardcore Congress lady. She just requested me that she wants to say a few words and she wants to speak to all the veterans. We will request Dev Surbi, who is the chairman of the unorganized and unemployed personnel in the Congress, and she will be saying just a few words for 2 minutes before we get on to the main commemoration ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Noel Goodwin, for this sudden and scheduled opportunity to speak. I'm the youngest here today. I'm 30 years old, and I'm an office bearer of the Congress. Honored to be a state chairperson for an organization within the Congress. And why I wanted to take this opportunity to speak, because I want to thank all of you, all the veterans here. You were instrumental in building the foundation of our country when it was still very young. And today when I hear people from the BJP and the RSS speaking about, just making such statements that पिछले 70 साल में कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. आज हमारे सामने आप सब बैठे हैं, बहुत कुछ हुआ और आप उस बहुत कुछ के बहुत इंस्ट्रूमेंटल पार्ट थे. तो मेरी तरफ से, मेरी जनरेशन की तरफ से, वी आर द मिलेनियल्स, मैं आपको बहुत बड़ा थैंक यू बोलना चाहती हूँ कि आप लोगों ने इतना सब कुछ त्याग करके और आपके साथ भी जो लोग मार्टर हुए, जो आज हमारे साथ नहीं हैं, मैं उन सबको थैंक यू बोलना चाहती हूँ. एंड I'm feeling very emotional right now. As a youngster of this country, we cannot thank you enough for your contribution. And जो लोग कहते हैं कि 70 साल में कुछ नहीं हुआ, वो शायद अंधे हैं और उनको समझ नहीं है. भगवान उनको सद्बुद्धि दे. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable, and we appreciate your emotions and feelings towards the veterans. We'll now move on to the penultimate. Why I'm saying this penultimate because I have my president of the South Goa block who will close the ceremony for us with a vote of thanks. But before that, we come on to the main event, and that is the felicitation of our veterans. To do that, we will request Mrs. Thompson to please come ahead. And the first person we would like to commemorate is our guest speaker and our chief guest, that is Captain Praveen Davar, who is the convener of the Bangladesh Liberation War 1971. Thank you for coming here, sir, and we are most honored. May I request you to come right in front here, sir. Now I'll request our guest of honor, Air Commodore Peter Pinto, and we'll have to look for a tall lady. But then I'll request Dev Surbi to kindly come and do the honors. Yeah, you can stand up now.
I forgot to mention that I was in the 4th AML, which was for Pandil Road.
Oh.
Now we request Commander Johnny Gomes to please come forward.
And again, next to her, the youngest lady can do her honor,
Can I request, ma'am, please, to come forward? Advocate Jennifer, will you be able to come forward? Yeah, please come forward. And we request Captain
No,
Vicky.
no. Put the man.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, please. I am seeing.
Please, sir, please.
He is the.
Commander,
They are
please.
actual heroes. I am. There we go.
Can I request, ma'am, please, to come forward? Captain Vicky Bhardwaj, please. Sir, please. You are the guest. You are the guest. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I like said, like everybody said, we don't deserve it. We owe it to you. We owe it to you.
And as I said in the very beginning, that I am very thankful. My heart goes out to Brigadier Nevis Braganza for having consented to come here. He has been a little indisposed in the past, has been moving around by God's grace now, a very fighting fit soldier, still goes by the book, let me tell you that. And I was pulled up by him for going a little wrong in the protocol. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And we request Mrs. Bindu Goodwin, I can't see you, yeah, to please come forward, and we request Brigadier Nevis Braganza also to please come forward, sir, for the felicitation.
Colonel Goodwin pulled me up or mentioned that I pulled him up. That was just a matter of advice from someone who is a little senior to me. But I do want to say that the Congress Party and the leadership which Colonel Goodwin has shown is crucial for our political life and survival here in Goa. And I'm very happy to be part so much affection has been shown to the ex-servicemen and the veterans. I, of course, participated in the Western Theatre, but we are all proud to have served the nation. And we look forward to the leadership of the Communist Party to do justice not only to us, but to the general population of this country. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. We now request Dev Surbi once again to please come. Can I request Colonel Thompson to please come up for the felicitation, please? How do you go, sir? Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, how can I forget Brigadier Karan Thakkar, who has been on and off in touch with me. He stays in Sholin. And the moment I gave him a call, he said, Noel, I'll be there. My wife is a little indisposed, but I am going to be there for sure. And despite these various commitments at home, I am very happy and I am truly thankful to all of you. Even Brigadier Nevis's wife is slightly indisposed, but he's here. And so are many other ladies, and so are many other domestic compulsions which could have stayed you back at home. But then what I say is, veterans are veterans. There is no barrier for them. There is no stopping for them. Brigadier Karan Thakkar, I request you to kindly come forward and accept the small token of appreciation for your contribution to the armed forces, sir.
And now you should do the honor, no? You should do the honor. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Before saying anything else, once again, a big thank you to all of you for being here, for making this event a great success. A huge salute, I must say a huge salute to all our veterans who are here in front, and a big thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you so much for all your speeches, for all your words of encouragement. We are taking back home the lessons which you have delivered for us to take as an education. Thank you very much. We now have the last event, the last sequence of which is in the event, is the closing of and the vote of thanks by the President of South Goa, the ex-servicemen department, Goa. Thank you once again. After that, we will all move for lunch, and I request each and every one of you to stay back. Thank you very much.
Respected veterans, Congress dignitaries, honorable guests, ex-servicemen and others. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the participants who have gathered here to commemorate our war veterans. It was a pleasure to have you all here in this gathering. I would like to especially thank Captain Praveen Dawar, who came all the way from Delhi and enlightened us with his detailed account of the Bangladesh war. Secondly, I would like to thank Air Commodore Peter Pinto, who is also the guest of honor, for enlightening us on all the air aspects when he had participated in the Bangladesh war. Thirdly, I would like to thank Captain Vicky Bhardwaj and Lieutenant Commander Gomez together, who have covered the naval aspect, as well as Captain Vicky Bhardwaj, who gave an inspiring speech of his how he, from where he came and from where he reached and how he inspired others. Then I would also like to thank other speakers who really spoke ex-tempo. They were Colonel Arjun Deva, Brigadier Thakkar, Colonel Hutta, and Colonel Thompson. Actually, these officers who spoke ex-tempo, they really spoke their heart out. Some got emotional also, but they gave a true account of whatever was prevailing at that time when they participated in the war. I would like to thank Sri Gundurao, who has left because of his other commitments, and he spared a valuable time and gave us and addressed us our gathering. It was also a pleasure to have amidst us senior defense officers who have participated in this event, and we have Prime TV, Prime TV, AIZ TV, Goenka Press, and a photographer who have covered this event. So we thank them also for covering this event, and I'm sure they are going to portray this during the TV in the evening. You will be able to see the view. You can view the proceedings. Last but not the least, I'd like to thank Goa Pradesh Congress Committee for all their support and assistance for conducting this event. And as well as Colonel Goodwin, who is the chairman of ex-servicemen wing, who planned and coordinated the full event. Of course, he was assisted by his team of officers. Thank you all. God bless you. And just to remind you that the elections are around the corner, and we wish Congress Party all the best.
I had restricted myself entirely to the Bangladesh war. One very important thing I just forgot. Today the country, secularism is in danger, and we all, I think, have to do our bit to not only protect secularism but to strengthen it. To that end, we keep organizing a lot of things. I'm a member of the India International Center in Delhi. We keep organizing programs and all that. I have also set up a WhatsApp group which has got nothing to do with my party. It's an independent group called Soldiers for Secularism. And I have already got 156 members. So I have got vacancies for 100. It will be ideal, there are 40, 50 of you here today, and if I will request everybody to become a member. My number, if you can take down, because now it's very difficult for me to take everybody's number individually. So those who wish to become a member of this group called Soldiers for Secularism, and you can also be just on, on silent watch. That's all. If you don't want to actively participate, because you will get a lot of information that what we are trying to do to protect secularism. 98 10 77 4281. You can put Captain Davar or Praveen Davar. My name is written here. Captain Davar or Praveen Davar. I am repeating the number 9810 77 4281. And I would like to, vote of thanks has already been given, but I really like to thank Colonel Goodwin You know, this is the first meeting I have seen. We keep organizing. You know, I have been very active in the ex-servicemen department of my 41 years. I have been handling the ex-servicemen department, though officially I am not in charge now. But I have handled it for 21 years. But I must tell you, Colonel Goodwin, that I have the proportion of the officers. I am talking the proportion of the officers has never been so high. So thank you very much. And Colonel Goodwin has become the chairman only a couple of months